We're all looking forward to college football, but this Maurice Smith story here in Tuscaloosa has, and especially with the news that you've broken the last couple of days with the story, has really grabbed our attention from a local standpoint here in T-Town.
Yeah, and I am covering the team, and I expected to go out there Monday, first day of Georgia's preseason practice, and be worried about depth chart, second team left guard, whether Nick Chubb will be healthy. And then this story is still going. So, yeah, interesting week.
Seth, when you look at Maurice Smith, what would he provide to Georgia as far as, would this be depth, or would he walk in and earn some immediate playing time?
I think it's a little of both, if that makes sense. Georgia has a secondary, counting the nickelback as one of the five. And when I say established starters, a couple of those guys have only started 2 or 3 career games, but they're going into their sophomore year. One of them is Rico McGraw, a kid that was committed to Alabama for a time before Jeremy Pruitt was able to convince him to go to Georgia. But I think by the calculation that Kirby Smart and Mel Tucker made, knowing this kid, knowing Maurice Smith, is that he can come in and compete and perhaps even start. While Georgia has guys that don't start, there have been times they're not as confident in them and repeating what they did last year. Maurice Smith is a guy who would need no adjustment. He knows the system. He's a smart kid, graduated in 3 years from Alabama. So they feel like he'd be able to walk in here and, I mean, I guess there does come a point where it's too late, but he could maybe come in here even in mid-August and pick things up probably right away and play a lot of snaps.
We are talking to Seth Emerson right now, DogNation.com, which is part of the AJC as we move forward here on Inside the Game on Tide 102.9 and Tide102.9.com. When I look at this story, and I read your story, I've read the comments, I've listened to Nick Saban talk about it in a press conference, I'm split in the middle here. I'm one of those guys that I could look at Maurice Smith and I could see his angle, but I can also look at Nick Saban not giving him that release. Are you able to look at both sides, or do you side one way or the other?
I mean, I think I'm one of the bleeding heart people who feels like you should be able to go where you want to go. But I can see it from a coach's standpoint. The way Saban at it is, number one, he's a good player. And I covered Jeremy Pruitt for 2 years here, and he went through the spring Pruitt did with Maurice Smith, and he likes what the kid can do, and I'm sure that they wouldn't be holding this up completely if they didn't think there was still a sliver of a chance the kid might change his mind. And I've been told, not that this won't happen, but there's still part of me that's covered this business long enough to say that if I start seeing tweets that when Alabama goes out there tomorrow afternoon that Maurice Smith is with the team, I won't be completely shocked. Because, I mean, obviously the kid wants to go to Georgia, but he might decide, all right, I can't do it. Can't go to Georgia, so I'm going to stay here. I don't know if Miami's off the table yet, but, I mean, I think from a purely just competitive cutthroat angle, Chris Black was permitted to transfer in the SEC because he's not as good a player as Maurice Smith relative to his position, and probably a lot less likely chance you'll see Missouri in the SEC championship game if Alabama gets there. Probably a compliment to Kirby Smart and Mel Tucker that Nick Saban are holding this up because they're worried that they might see Georgia in the SEC championship game, and that Maurice Smith, who's a smart kid, graduated in 3 years, that he'll take with him not only his ball skills to Georgia, but his brains, and we'll have some insight, having gone through the spring in Alabama.
When I look at Mark Richt, I think he was 50-18